Hello, and welcome to my Unity Foundations tutorial. The goal of this series is to give you a strong understanding of how Unity and its core systems work so that you can apply that knowledge to all of your future projects. In Unity and in programming, there are often multiple ways to get the same result. Our goal is for you to understand your options so that you can choose the one that makes the most sense for you based on your project size and scope. By the end of this series, you will know how to navigate the Unity application, how to work with scenes and game objects, core principles of C# programming, how to create and use monobehaviors and scriptable objects, how to use the canvas system and rect transform components, how to use the animation system, and how to put it all together to create and publish a simple game. Let's get started. Here we have the Unity Hub application. Unity Hub allows us to install and manage different versions of Unity and create and manage our Unity projects. If you don't have Unity Hub installed, you can download it from the link in the description. To install a new version of Unity, go to the Installs tab. This will allow you to view all of your currently installed versions and allow you to install new versions via the Install Editor button. Select the versions you would like to install. I recommend using the newest version with an LTS tag, which stands for Long-Term Support. After clicking Install, you can select additional modules to install with the Unity editor. I recommend installing Visual Studio Code module, which is a code editing application that we'll use for writing C# scripts, and the Mac and Windows build support modules so that you can publish your project for those platforms. You can always add more modules later via the Manage Add Modules button. Once the Unity engine is installed, you can create a new Unity project. Click on the Projects tab and choose New Project. You can select your editor version to use for this project from the drop-down and the Universal 3D template. You can create a project name. I'm going to call mine Unity Foundations Project and select a save location for the project and hit Create Project. Unity is a complex application, and it may take a minute or two to build and start your project. Now that you've created your first project, let's take a tour of Unity's interface. Unity is an incredibly powerful and versatile application. In order to support that versatility, there are many different menus and options, most of which we won't need to use. The parts of the Unity application that you will always use are the Hierarchy panel, the Scene panel, the Game panel, the Inspector panel, the Project panel, and the Console panel. All of these panels can be resized and rearranged to create a layout that you're comfortable with. You can select different layouts from the Window Layouts menu and build and save your own. I recommend creating a layout that places the Hierarchy panel next to the Inspector panel and that maximizes the height of the Inspector panel. Let's start with the Scene view. Scenes are the physical spaces containing our game world and user interfaces. The Scene view is where we build and preview these spaces. The Hierarchy panel shows the currently open scenes and all game objects in each scene. The sample scene from our 3D Universal template is loaded by default. There are currently 3 game objects in the scene: a main camera, a directional light, and a global volume. The most important of these objects is the camera. It is responsible for rendering the scene content to a display and allowing players to see the game objects in your scene. The Game panel shows the camera's output for the display. This is what the player will see when they play your game. Clicking on a game object in the Hierarchy panel selects it in the Scene view, and clicking on an object in the Scene view selects it in the Hierarchy panel. When a game object is selected, the Inspector panel shows the list of components on that game object. By default, every game object has a transform component, which represents its position, rotation, and scale in the scene. When you rearrange objects in the scene, the Inspector panel shows those updates. And when you change values in the Inspector, the scene reflects those changes. There are many other types of components that we can add to GameObjects which give them different kinds of functionality. You can see that the main camera GameObject has the default transform component and also has a camera component with different rendering options. We can add new GameObjects to the scene via the GameObject menu or by right-clicking in the hierarchy. An empty GameObject only has the default transform component. We can add new components to GameObjects using the Add Component button or the Component menu. We can also add pre-assembled GameObjects that have certain combinations of components that give certain functionality, such as this cube, which comes with a mesh filter, mesh renderer, and box collider for physics collisions. The project view displays all of the assets in our project. You can choose from a one-column layout or a two-column layout. The two-column layout displays directories on one side and files on the other. The one-column layout displays everything together. I prefer a one-column layout. The Packages folder includes support for much of Unity's default functionality. Additional packages installed through the Package Manager may end up here as well. The Assets folder is where we will put all the different assets we create for use in our project. The 3D Universal template already added a few assets to our project, such as an input system and rendering settings. Most importantly, it also added the Scenes folder with our sample scene. Double-clicking a scene will close all the currently open scenes and load the new one. You can open multiple scenes at once by dragging them into the hierarchy. The console panel displays debug messages from the Unity editor and its components, including any custom C# scripts that we write. Congratulations on completing the Unity install and interface tour. In the next video, we'll cover principles of C# programming, Unity's monobehavior class, and how to add custom behaviors to GameObjects. To practice navigating scenes with the Scene view, try the first mission of the Unity Essentials Learning Pathway. You can access the pathway via the link in the description and follow along in the Unity editor. Or you can take a guided version of the pathway in the Unity editor by creating a new Unity project from the Essentials Pathway Learning template.